Hi, okay. How y'all doing? So, this is part two. Following notes of, response to why I left for Mike Gibson USAF. So, in number one, the last thing I talked about was how when I had gone to church and I looked up and I saw this clear light coming through and I knew I was at home. When I was at that church for the first time, first of all, it was the strangest feeling to feel completely comfortable. Okay, I had never been comfortable in anybody's church anywhere, ever before. I would hate churches, and I would tell you that. I hate church, I hate churches, um, I'm uncomfortable there, I don't like it, I don't like what they talk about, I don't like how they talk about it, I don't like what happens, the whole thing, okay? So much so that I just completely stayed away from almost every kind of Christianity except for I had for 2 or 3 years attended Friends meeting for worship, Quakers. And they have a meeting house. It's not a church. It's just like a simple, very humble, there's nothing in it but wood, benches and things. And because it's simply silent worship, I could feel comfortable there. That was it. When people would talk about their great church experiences and how happy they were, and they wanted me to go to their church and listen to the music or whatever it was, that was when I would just whinge and wince and, ugh, please don't make me go, and felt offended. And not in a way of that I didn't like someone else's religion, or that I was offended that someone would ask me. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that what was talked about was upsetting to me, and it was completely discordant as far as I was concerned and understood to the smallest degree. The way that they explained their theology, it seemed discordant. Okay, that's just for starters. That would be the chief reason I would say why I was uncomfortable. Because if you're going to talk about a peaceful Jesus and then tell me about a blood sacrifice, I'm out of there. Because I come from a Jewish background and we don't like that. No. Angel came down to Abraham and said, no, you don't do that. So why would God do that to his own? No, that was patently offensive to me. That was upsetting because it was incongruent to me. It didn't make sense. So many things that were, portrayed to me as the only Christianity, because those were the only people who I interacted with, which was all like Protestant-based and Unitarian and that kind of thing. So I'll get into more of the background of how I missed the entire eastern portion of Christianity for, 3 years of my life, because that is a pretty big gaping hole of confusion that had I simply known, and you'd think with the internet I might have known, but, well, they're quiet folks, so even more quiet than the Quakers who think they're the most quiet. So from the beginning, I felt comfortable there. That was brand spanking new. There wasn't anything that happened the entire time that I was there that didn't find comforting, meaningful, important, beautiful, reverent, amazing. And there was a sense of something that, remember I talked about that little whiff? I had there's a sense or a physical sensation that accompanies it, going, or you know, even when I pray or whatever, that was so distinctive that when I was vlogging each of these, you know, church visits, I began to ask the other Orthodox who have been so kind to let me ask them a million questions. You know, what is it that I could describe as this sense that I'm experiencing when I go, so that I can describe when it happens, I'll refer to it this way. And Zragisha said, mercy and grace. So that's what I've come to call it. And I don't know any other way to say it, and that's just become, you know, like the common way that I do. But I could have chosen so many other descriptive words because I'm describing something that's completely indescribable. But I can say that it completely matches everything that, first of all, when I would have like dreams of, or if I would have a thought of, or get an idea of how I thought I should feel in any kind of circumstance that was spiritual in nature, that never felt like the mercy and grace. That one was spot on, no question, you know. There was no question. All the rest of them were horseshoes. Okay. Which, you know, okay. When you play horseshoes, that, you know, close enough is good enough and you get points for, you know, close enough. Well, the rest of the world, you know, close enough is not necessarily good enough. And that's how that one sort of lined up finally. All the cogs in the wheel were turning. So that's how that went. I can talk some more about, because you asked, you know, was there a spiritual or supernatural thing that happened? Yeah, tons of them. And now that I have the perspective to look back on it, I've talked about that there were these threads of orthodoxy that had been woven through my life that I had no idea were orthodox ideas and beliefs that I had attributed to so many other different belief systems or groups as being the origin of, when I found out, no, actually, that's where it came from. So that was news to me. But a good kind of news, because, and I don't mean like gospel good news, I just mean that it was nice to finally have the accurate, appropriate one to say, oh yeah, that's where it's from. As far as the logical sense, I wanted to talk about that more first than the rest of the spiritual stuff, because the spiritual stuff I could go on and on and on about. I mean, truly. Looking at the world in a Baha'i idea of the eras of time, considering that, you know, they believe that each one of the manifestations, you know, the whole progressive revelation thing, okay. It has been noted by people that I claim that, you know, it's basically because of progressive revelation that I identify it as being such a major tenet of principle that I had to leave. That there's obviously more to it than that, but people have characterized it in some certain ways that may or may not be true. And one of them I would like to say, for the fact that it was suggested that I said that I have an accusation against someone. And as far as I'm concerned, that is not accurate. And some people might think that I'm playing a game of semantics, but it isn't. Instead, it's that self-incrimination. I don't have to accuse someone when they've outright told me. So that's how that one goes, and I'll explain more about what that means to me later. And there's videos and videos and videos about it. So looking at how time is and thinking of recognizing that, you know, all of these manifestations were, you know, equal, and that they were all saying the same thing, but that it would change from time to time, and so on. It did at the outset seem quite plausible, but when I would try to look at the stark difference between what they referred to as the you know, cultural laws, they seemed more than that to me, and not dismissible, and therefore that didn't line up anymore. That you know, and so people are like, well, does that mean that you think that those people aren't spiritual or something like that? And no, I think they have a striving for you know, the divine, but that doesn't have to make that person become a manifestation just because they're desiring to love and serve and express themselves towards God or Creator or whatever you would like to, you know, denote it as. So getting the idea that time is different too, because, you know, 19 days, 19 months, intercalary days, and all of the years and the eras. Getting on that time calendar, which really I guess is the Badi Calendar, and then it was, you know, used again. It was more than strange. I guess because for me, growing up Jewish, everything was, you know, by the season of time, and so, you know, when you would have winter, and when you would have all the different seasons effects have some sort of meaning to do with whatever holy day that's happening, except for a couple. And so there's a very sturdy understanding of the movements of the year, even though in the Jewish calendar it's by the moon, okay? That's still, like I say, because it was so organized towards, you know, how seasons work, it feels very much like you're on the earth, and it makes sense, I could say. The 19 is a computer. And I'm going to end this with that and explain more in number 3. So thanks for sticking with me, and I really appreciate the chance to chat with you. And peace.